On this week's video, we're doing something a little bit different because normally I put a lot of time into thinking about what I'm going to cover. I get a lot of requests and I want to fulfill a lot of those requests. Obviously, I also have to do things that I know are going to be things that people want to watch, things that I know will be successful. But every once in a while, I have to cover something that's specifically just for me. And this video is pretty much just for me because no one has requested that I cover Patrick. This is a couple of movies in a weird kind of a timeline that I just had to talk about because it just seemed like a lot of fun to talk about, and I kind of want more people to know about it. So let's take a look at this rather crazy film series. Back in 1979, the saga began Down Under and Patrick by Richard Franklin, who later gave us the awesome Psycho 2, and we meet Patrick, who kills his parents. We then meet Kathy, who gets a new job as a nurse taking care of him, and we find out that we're 3 years later and he's totally comatose now. Pretty soon though, mysterious things are happening as an unseen force tries to drown a doctor, and Patrick seems to be trying to communicate with her and can move items and possess people. So she grabs his penis. I think that might be against the rules. Kathy starts to reconcile with her estranged husband, which Patrick doesn't like, so he traps him in an elevator and starts talking to her via typewriter. They use shock therapy, which was pretty much discontinued in the early 80s due to concerns about its use, so placing this in 1978 is most probable, especially considering the clothing and the cars and such. He kills and then moves a bit, and there's this ad on a trolley for Export Cola, which again was discontinued in the early 80s, so real time seems right. And Patrick pronounces his love for Kathy, basically being the proto-incel, and Ed finally gets out of the damn elevator. Patrick dies and then leaps out of a bed in a great jump moment, and they close his eyes, but it looks like Patrick still lives. That, coincidentally, is the title of a follow-up, I guess not the follow-up. You see, Patrick was really successful, kicking off a string of grindhouse films from Australia dubbed Ozploitation. Because of that, Italy being Italy, decided to make a sequel, but of course an unofficial one called Patrick Still Lives in 1980. It had nothing to do with the original film because they had no rights to it, but that's never stopped Italian knockoff sequels before. It starts with a guy named Patrick hilariously getting hit in the head and going into a coma, and a group of people checking into a villa for a vacation. And Patrick's dad is a doctor who keeps him shirtless in a room there. Soon his spooky eyes are showing up in places, and there's some Suspiria-style lighting choices and goblin-esque score, but none of the quiet subtlety of the first film. It's a much sleazier affair as every female character walks around naked most of the time. And they even knock off the whole typewriter bit, and then there's cat fights at dinner.
Le femmine che urlano mi innervosiscono.
And in case you think it's just the women, you get to see this super discount Burt Reynolds nude as well. Lucky us. Then, for maximum sleaze factor, there's an extremely explicit moment that makes the tree rape from Evil Dead look tame. I hope me saying that didn't come off as like a positive thing, because it's terrible. There's some more crazy kills, and it turns out that all the people that were invited there were the people that possibly threw the bottle that hurt Patrick. So by killing all of them, he'd be sure to get his revenge. Finally, Patrick kills his dad and moves his hand, and the movie literally just ends. There's no visible date, but real-time 80 works, even though it actually looks much older than the original because of how cheap it is. The series went untouched until 2013 gave us the inevitable remake called Patrick: Evil Awakens from director Mark Hartley, who directed the documentary called Not Quite Hollywood about Aussie exploitation films. The genre kicked off by the original movie, so it's only fitting. A character in the intro has an iPhone, so we're set in the present, and we meet Dr. Roger Lannister and our new Kathy, who Patrick should be careful not to attack while wearing a wolf mask. Things go like the original, with the minor difference being that the matron Cassidy is the Doctor's daughter, and we meet our super handsome Patrick. He starts messing up Kathy's life, and Ed finally shows up, and damn. They managed to make the boner scene even creepier from Kathy's standpoint. There's a web search that shows a fundraiser event for 2013 in it, so that's our year, most likely. And oddly, it seems like Patrick can't just roam free willy-nilly in the world. He, I guess, it travels through phone lines. And when Ed looks at his phone, this gives Patrick access to take him over? And then I guess a side ability of telekinesis is making phones melt? And seatbelts shoot electric sparks? And cars look like silly CGI? Patrick is a lot stronger in this one, killing more people, and is eventually stopped by a lighthouse, I think, and a syringe. They do the lunge thing again, but it's far sillier. Kind of like this whole movie. They do all the same stuff as the original, just goofier, but not in a good way. So there you have it, 3 movies of some really varied levels of quality. The first movie is actually really great. I enjoy it quite a bit. Very quiet, subtle, slow burn of a thriller kind of a movie. The killer never moves in the entire film, really. Never speaks or says a word, but is still actually very menacing. I think it's a great movie. It's the whole reason why I wanted to do this timeline was because of how much I loved the original and wanted to see it again. Patrick Still Lives, on the other hand, is one of the most bizarre, crazy, over-the-top, sleazeball, grindhouse, dingy, weird movies that I've ever seen. You should really check it out just because of its level of insanity. It's a crazy movie. And then the remake is... you can pass. It's the original movie, just really modernized, but in the worst kind of ways. I kind of wish it was better. I had high hopes for it, but did not live up to those hopes. Let me know if you've ever seen Patrick, or if you enjoy it, if just what you think about it at all. I know this is not something that a lot of people are asking for, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Tell me down below, like, subscribe to all that good stuff. Check out my patrons over here. Thank you guys for helping me keep this channel going, and I'll see you again very shortly for another great video. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.